Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Sled season's winding down. It's getting warmer outside. There's not much snow left on the ground, and it's time for us to get into our end of season reviews on our sleds. First up is going to be our 2024 Backcountry XRS 850. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys had a fantastic riding season. I just finished up my last ride in Cochrane, Ontario, and was able to squeeze out a last ride up there. We got about 8 inches of snow and went back up to help our club open up the trails and get everything set up again so folks could get another weekend of riding in. Anyway, we got back and we're just approaching the end of the season, so it's time to do end of season reviews on our sleds for the year. And the first one up for me is going to be my 24 Backcountry XRS 850 in the 146 with the 39-inch wide front end. This sled was, you know, a real awesome sled for me this year. And basically just wanted to give you guys kind of a full download on, you know, what I got to experience this year, specifically with the XRS. A couple of things that I found, you know, and again, I'm not sort of doing an overview. I just want to share with you guys my experience for riding. Firstly, you know, last year we started riding more backcountry. Up in Cochrane, you know, Kenny and Jeff and the guys, the locals, really take us around to do more off-trail riding. It's actually a balance, I would say. It's more 50-50 riding than anything. And I really fell in love with the 146 last year. And no different this year. I am sold on a 146 platform. I personally think this is the best balanced sled you can buy on the market. It just feels right. Even like going over rough stuff or playing with it in the deep snow, it just feels like such a really well balanced sled. The other thing that I really love, and again, I talked about this last year, the seating position on the backcountries. You're sitting up higher on the sled and you're sitting, you know, you kind of feel a little bit more forward. Whereas kind of on my Renegade, I feel like I'm a little bit more in the sled. So the seating position on the backcountries for me is super, super comfortable. The only thing I really do to make it even more comfortable is add the adjustable riser. And again, this is the one that goes straight up and down from skidoo. It gives you, I think, about 4.5 to 6.5 inch height on it. And to me, this makes it, you know, ready to rock in the backcountry. You need to go from sitting on the trail to standing immediately, and it's like perfect setup for me. So it's amazing and it's ultra comfortable. You know, the one thing that I absolutely noticed this year with this XRS was how well it handled on trail. The on-trail manners of this sled in comparison to the 23 Backcountry X that I had, night and day difference. And you know, really, when you look and compare and drive them back to back from an X to an XRS sled, there's a massive difference with the shocks. And you really notice it when you get into the rough stuff and you're going over bumps. This sled was phenomenal. On-trail performance was exceptional. It really handled the bumps well. I love the Pro 36s. And you could throw this sled around and throw it through any kind of terrain. And it's just amazing how well it actually did. That was probably the biggest difference I think that I noticed, was just how good of a trail sled this backcountry has actually become. It's a huge step up above from the G4 BCX that I had. So definitely a huge difference there. I also love the fact that Skidoo went to the 3-click adjustments on the compression. You know, gone are the old days of messing with the 26 clicks, I guess, of adjustment or whatever it was on the older shocks with rebound and the compression. There was just so much to deal with to dialing in those shocks, and it just took a lot longer. This takes all the guesswork out of it, and you just go, you know, soft, medium, hard, and away you go. The one thing I did notice with this sled that I thought was really strange was, you know, I set this sled up actually on full hard when we first got it, and we rode it, and it was stiff, like way too stiff. So I ended up just riding it a bit more and backing down and backing off on all the shock settings. I ended up riding this sled pretty much the whole season on the softest setting for all the shocks. Now that's definitely strange. I'm over 200 pounds and I usually am running on medium settings for most of my shocks. So that was definitely different. Now, I don't know if something's changed with the valving on the shocks from Skidoo this year, but that was certainly a noticeable difference, I think, from how I've typically set sleds up in the past and ridden them. I could ride this thing and found it very hard to actually bottom out. You know, it was a handful of times I can recall where maybe you hit one of those dips in the trail and right at the bottom there, you really hit hard. It was really tough to bottom this sled out. So again, I'm not sure if maybe something's changed with the valving or not, but these Pro 36s work amazing. And this sled honestly handled exceptionally well through pretty much everything you could throw at it as far as bumps, bigger whoops, you know, and all that kind of rougher terrain. Anybody who says, you know, there really isn't that much difference or prefers the X over the XRS, honestly, I totally disagree. I think the XRS, and Jesse, honestly, kudos to him because he convinced me years ago to move from an X to an XRS. I really think there's a major difference, and when you get into that rough stuff, these XRSs go through it like it's nothing. So I was really happy, super impressed with the way this sled performed through the bumps, and just in general, an exceptionally on-trail performance and capabilities were just amazing. So one of the things I did find with this sled initially was it was really tough to get transfer out of the sled. And that's something that, you know, in the past I wouldn't really think about that. My BCX last year transferred amazing. I always talked about, you know, how well it hooked up and how easy it was to lift the front end. When I first got this thing on the trail, I was actually a little disappointed. I just didn't feel like it was coming up as easily over, you know, some of the hills and stuff, and I just found it a little bit harder. It almost felt like it was much more stuck to the trail than I expected, and I think a lot of that probably has to do with the C-Motion X, but I didn't like it. So anyway, I talked to a few folks and they said, you know, loosen up the limiter strap, and that's what I ended up doing. Now, I also didn't get to try it that much in the deep snow because we didn't really have a lot of snow this year until this past weekend when I was riding, you know, doing some backcountry up in Cochrane. Now, the two holes I adjusted in length of the limiter strap a little bit made a big difference for sure. Definitely feel like the front end was a little bit more easier to come up and a little bit more playful now. So that might be something that you want to try if you do have a 24 BCXRS. And you notice the same thing. Definitely play around with your limiter strap, will make a difference for sure. And I think also just having that rear shock setting on the softest will just allow for more compression in the skid, and that will help you get better traction, better lift on the front end. So again, it takes a little bit of tweaking and tuning. Definitely didn't come up as easy, I think, as my 23 BCX did. But you know, with those adjustments, definitely felt like it was a good performing sled off trail, and definitely made it kind of brought that playful feeling back, which is the one thing that you know, I was talking about last year that I absolutely love about the backcountry models. So you know, give that a try and see if it works for you. So let's talk about the design and the color of this sled. You know, when I first saw that this was coming out in this mint color with the orange crush accents, I thought it was a crazy awesome looking sled, and I get it, it's not for everybody. A lot of people don't like the wild colors. I love it. Personally, I thought this was the hottest sled on snow. And it's funny, I was looking at a lineup of sleds from this past weekend. Everybody's sled in our pack was black. Black, black, black. Everybody always buys black. And honestly, I'm sick of it. I've had a lot of black sleds. I love the colors, and to me, this was such a cool looking sled. Surprisingly, I was expecting to get a lot of dirt and black on this beautiful orange seat, and it's actually perfect. So the trick is you got to just keep up on the cleaning. You know, I tried to clean it after every weekend of riding or every time I had it out, just to stay up on it. Even with the light colored matte panels, just using some of the Skidoo XPS C1, you know, you douse the sled in that, and basically any grease or any belt dust, it takes it all off. Any of the exhaust, which you guys have seen me do, you know, it takes it all off so easily. So yeah, you got to clean it a little bit more just to keep up on it, but my sled looks absolutely perfect. It's in showroom condition, not a scratch, not a mark, not a speck of dirt on it. And you know, you just got to stay up on it. And for me, it's worth it. This sled, the way it's decked out with these orange accents, I absolutely love it. And you'll see even Sean from Team Chaos got my shovel powder coated orange crush, which matches. It's perfectly color matched, so it looks amazing, as well as that adventure bumper. So for me, like, I love the fact that Skidoo is kind of pushing the envelope in terms of design and some of these, you know, crazy cool colors coming out with the backcountry sleds. And to me, it's unique, right? Like, I don't want to have the same looking sled that everybody has out there. I just love that they're coming out with some really cool color options for the sleds. And again, this one has definitely been my favorite so far. What else? So I ran the low windshield setup, obviously, with this. And a lot of people commented they loved the look of the, everybody's always asking me about the look of the windshield and whether I'm painting them. I'm not painting them. These, we typically are just getting them wrapped with a 3M vinyl, and it kind of completes and finishes off the look of the sled. And so, you know, matching that windshield, I always wrap my handguards as well. So those are wrapped matte, and then I've got the fold out mirrors, which I use for trail riding. They're okay. I don't find they work that great. They're all right. I'd like to see something better in the future. I love the way Polaris has them integrated into the panels. And so I think for trail riding, that's the ticket. So maybe Skidoo can come out with something, you know, that would sit like in here or on the top part of the panel or even on the outside. Would love to see maybe something there. Like to see that change in the future. Obviously I had E-Link as well this year, and you know, we love the E-Link. Just like having everything integrated into the cord, and that worked really well with any of the helmets that I was running this year when I needed the electric visor hookup, so that was great. I would say, you know, some of the other big things that just worked with this sled, obviously we get a lot of the features, you know, that we were used to or that I was used to on my 23 Renegade in the G5, now on the G5 for the backcountry lineup. And so I loved having the big 10-inch display on this sled. Always love having, you know, the stats and rider information that they give you on the big display. I know there's, you know, a lot of back and forth with people whether or not they like it, they don't like it. I think it's a major upgrade. The DS3 skis again, up front, I love the DS3 skis. I talked about this last year. I actually have a spare set of DS3 skis that I was running even on my Renegade 850 last year for a bit. Deeper keel design on them. I pair those up with their Bergstrom 6-inch triple points, and this sled railed. It was phenomenal as a trail sled, and certainly, like I said, is a much better trail sled than I think the last year's G4 backcountry was. So that makes a huge difference. And it's funny, I was actually chatting online with a guy who has the same sled this year and just yesterday, and you know, he was complaining a little bit about darting. It does dart with the factory carbides, absolutely, you're gonna notice it. And I ran them, you know, for the first little bit, like I always do, and then I switched out to the Bergstroms, and this thing was an absolute weapon on the trail. No darting whatsoever, it just railed and handled beautifully. Obviously, you know, our knee pads on the sled as well, and I put these on at the beginning of the season. They still look brand new, so I've been really super happy and excited to see these take off this year. And I know a lot of you folks have been purchasing them, and hopefully you've had a wonderful experience with them as well. You know, this sled's got 3,150 kilometers on it, and these things look absolutely brand new. They definitely help with some of that added protection, and they're still stuck down really nicely, so they've been a really nice add-on, and I've really enjoyed using them on both my sleds this year, so they've worked really well. A couple of the other things too, you know, we always run with the Garmin GPS, and so I ended up putting the glove box extension on this G5 and used that, and it was great. I mean, having this as basically being able to track my rides, and if I was riding it on trail, even off trail, I was tracking some of my rides. Always nice to have that Garmin setup on there. I didn't use BRP Go as much. In fact, I don't think I used it at all on this sled. Jesse did actually in Vallon. He was testing it out for a bit, but it worked really well. One other thing I found, you know, a little strange with the sled was in order to get max RPM up around 8,000, 8,100 where we like to be, that's where these things need to be to perform really well. I had to run this thing on clicker setting 5, and that's unusual to me. Every other 850 I've had, backcountry or non-backcountry, I've run typically on clicker setting 3, maybe 4. But for some reason, this one just had to be on 5 in order to really get that upper RPM. So I found that kind of strange, and I did see some posts online earlier this year, a guy with the same sled, you know, really trying to get the RPMs out of it, and he had to jack his up to 5 as well. Not sure why, not sure if something's different with the ramps. I mean, I checked online on the parts fiche earlier on this year, and everything looked to be the same as what it was last year. So not really sure there. You guys know that we run Ultimax belts on all of our sleds. I really love the stickiness, and the compound's a little bit softer on the Ultimax belts, but they last just as long as the factory belts do. And we've had great luck with them, and ran it all year, you know, with my 850, and seemed to do really well for us. We had really good luck with them this year. And Ultimax has made some changes with their XS821 belt and run a little bit wider cogs on them. So they've worked awesome this year, and we did some testing kind of earlier on, even with my 900. We've always had good luck with them, and you know, we've got a great relationship and a partnership with Ultimax, and you know, their belts work awesome on these skidoos. So that worked out really well for this sled as well this year. Couple other things too. I mean, I ran the 1.6 Cobra and the Ice Cobra, which I talked about last year. I had it on my X package as well. I love this track. I know there's a lot of folks that don't like this track, and they say that they've had issues with them, you know, running them, and that the lugs get, you know, sort of worn down pretty quickly, or they'll lose lugs. I haven't got a single lug, no issues. I've never had one actually crack, or I've never, you know, seen them break. So I don't know. I mean, I've had amazing luck with them. I like that, again, the softness of that Ice Cobra track and how it actually hooks up on trail. To me, has been amazing. I haven't needed to stud any of these 1.6 Ice Cobras, and I feel like they just work really well for both on trail and off trail. I'd be a little nervous, I think, to stud a backcountry sled. You know, I know you can get better performance out of it for sure on trail, but for some reason I just feel more comfortable with the Ice Cobra. And I think, you know, generally for most riders, it should do a great job. It just worked awesome. So whether you get into deep stuff or running it on the trail, it's a fantastic track, and you know, absolutely can't say enough good things about it. Other than that, no issues. You know, did my standard gear case oil changes, you know, dumped a bunch of oil through it this year, because these 850s just love to drink oil and gas when you're on them. But this sled, honestly, it's my favorite for sure. I'm definitely a 146 guy. I think for the type of riding that I do, I think for the big, fast, wide open trail running, a 146 does great for that. And even in the tight and twistier stuff, I mean, yeah, it might not be as good as like a 129, but they're pretty damn good. And again, obviously for the days where you're gonna run and do some of the off-trail stuff in the deep snow, I had a ton of fun with this. And again, just coming off this weekend in Cochrane, this thing was a blast to ride through some of that fresh snow that we got. I think we had probably anywhere between, you know, 6 and 10 and 12 inches of snow in some spots. And this thing did phenomenally well. It was a lot of fun to ride. I think that's pretty much it, just in terms of my overall experience with it. I know there's a lot of folks who've reached out to me, you know, last year and this year, just around, you know, they're thinking about 137 and maybe moving to a 146. You know, if I can leave you with anything, it's, you know, get out there, try the sleds if you can. If you're riding the same kind of terrain and you're doing a lot of, you know, 50-50 riding, where maybe you're riding a lot of those big, wide open, fast running trails, a 146 backcountry will be just fine. It will do everything you need it to do and more. And then obviously when you're getting into the off-trail stuff, these sleds are amazing. And it really is kind of the ultimate 50-50 type sled. So if you're thinking about it, you've got any questions, you want to talk about it, you want to know more about it, like I said, it's been my go-to choice now for, you know, for the last couple of years. And certainly going forward will be as well for any of the day ripping type riding that we're doing, where, you know, you're just going to get out and mash trails for the day, or you're going to do a bit of backcountry exploring. This is definitely the sled to have, and Skidoo's done a fantastic job this year just throwing it into the G5. Absolutely love it. As always, these sleds, after every season we ride them, we take great care of them. Chris Ledger's helped us with servicing this year at Ledger Performance. They're available for sale. If you guys are interested in a deal on a really nice Backcountry XRS 850, give me a shout. Definitely reach out to me, Mike at Sledaddicz.com. this sucker is going to be up for sale, as obviously we're putting in our spring orders now for next year. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Gives you a little bit more information around how this thing stacked up this year for me, and help you make some decisions as you go forward into the 2025 lineup with Skidoo. So thanks for watching the video, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.